Of all the Imperial German bayonets, my favorite are the Ersatz bayonets of World War I. They were emergency replacement bayonets in the early days of the war, while the state arsenals were overwhelmed by the demand for rifle production, and the private blade manufacturers were producing the standard pattern bayonets to their maximum capacity. There was still a need for even more bayonets. The German army solved this problem by contracting with smaller companies and workshops to make a variety of simplified models. They were typically all steel in construction, and ranged from fairly crudely made to slightly better made, and almost similar to a standard pattern blade. Another thing most have in common is that they fit both the standard Gewehr 98 and the reserve rear-line Gewehr 88. I'll fit one on both, starting with the Gewehr 98. The oval-shaped muzzle ring is what allows it to fit on both. On the 98, the barrel fits onto the smaller end of the oval, and it's mostly stabilized by the long bayonet lug. Next, I'll fit it onto the Gewehr 88. This rifle has a short bayonet lug, which works together with the large end of the oval muzzle ring to stabilize the bayonet. There's perhaps hundreds of varieties of Ersatz bayonets, which is why they're such a popular collector's item. But there's one major variation, or sub-variety, that I don't have. I'll use this reference book to show them. They're known as Ersoc bayonets, Ersatz Socket bayonets. They feature similar simplified handles, but instead of new-made blades, they use adapted blades, or spikes, from old socket bayonets. Just like the bladed Ersatz bayonets, the Ersoc bayonets have a lot of variants, using all sorts of different handles and blades. The reason I don't have one of these yet is that they're rarer than standard knife blade Ersatz bayonets, which means they were likely produced in lesser numbers, and as a result, they're much more expensive on the collector's market today. So I'm going to make one. But I'm not starting from scratch, because International Military Antiques commissioned a run of replica Ersatz bayonet handles. These have an all-steel construction just like the originals, and they have a slot to accept any sort of blade that you'd want to add, though they're mostly meant for blades, not spikes. I could adapt any old rusty socket bayonet that I could find, but the first thing I came across for this project is this. I'm really not sure what this is. All I know is that it's a fake. I found it at a flea market for cheap, which is good because it feels cheap. The handle is modeled after a Danish model 1915, though scaled up and with brass grips. The blade is copied from a French Gras 1874, though it's a bit shorter at around 15.5 inches. It even has a poor interpretation of a Gras bayonet markings. A manufacture date of 1890 would put this 4 years after Gras production ended. But this is a perfect candidate to donate its blade to this project. It saves me time from making a blade from scratch, and it ensures an original piece isn't damaged. I'm not sure if Ersoc bayonets with Gras blades existed or not. The book shown earlier didn't have any examples, but the Germans used every type of blade they can get their hands on. Austrian, British, older French, even US. It's not outside the realm of possibility that somewhere exists an Ersoc bayonet with a Gras blade, but maybe this will be the first. Before I can join these two, I need to fit the handle onto the rifles. IMA said that these replicas would need some fitting. I just didn't expect them to need this much. I'll get started. That's the bayonet handle fitting onto the rifles. Now to add the blade. Though I couldn't find any examples of an Ersoc bayonet with a Gras blade, I'm going to be attaching the blade in a similar manner as to all the other examples I could find. The blade will be fit towards the bottom of the handle. In my opinion, this placement is key to the look of Ersoc bayonets. Then I'll drill for 2 rivets right around here, which from reference pictures is how they're often attached. But before I can join these two, I need to first separate the blade from this handle. There's no obvious signs of how this is constructed, so I'll start by deconstructing. That's the bayonet complete. You could see that I patinaed the handle. These bayonets were issued early in the war, and thus they saw a lot of use. It's rare to find one in perfect shape, so with this beat up some, it'll fit in with my others better. As for how the blade is attached, the solid rivets hold it securely, though they're always a pain to set. I did purposely leave a gap between the blade and the handle. A lot of the Ersac bayonets I've seen pictures of have similar gaps. You may be thinking though, is this even an Ersac bayonet? The term Ersatz Socket refers to the blade being repurposed from a socket bayonet. A Gras bayonet isn't a socket. But this does have the look of an Ersac bayonet. The long, thin blade of a vaguely triangular shape being offset towards the bottom of the handle. Until I acquire an authentic Ersac bayonet, this will be a fine placeholder in my collection. Thanks for watching.